All right, good morning, everybody, and welcome back to the Mixed Reality Speaker Series. Today we've got a really nice event. We have with us Dr. Ramy, who's going to be talking about some of his works. So this is a live presentation, but while you're watching this, please come up with some questions. We'll have some time for Q&A at the end. So just plop your questions into the Q&A box up in the corners there and let us know what you're thinking. So I'm going to hand this over to Dr. Ramy now and let him take it away.
Thanks, Nick, for the introduction, and let me just start my presentation then. All right, let me just do something. Let me just do it quickly. Yeah. All right, so welcome to my presentation. So it's more about like mixed reality and how to apply that in museums. To be honest, this was part of my PhD studies 3-4 years ago. Since the HoloLens actually started to be, in the pre-order in the market, I was actually starting my PhD work at that time, and the only way I found any solution to museum was through the mobile phones and tablets. So let's go and see what was done there. So the presentation is talking about what is MuseumEye. MuseumEye, tablet and pilot thing, field studies, definition of the system, the pipeline, technical process, results, and final thoughts. So the thing is, I'm an Egyptian man. I'm living in Cairo, right? So I'm usually visiting Egyptian Museum in Cairo. And it's quite big big museum, and it has like 160,000 objects, and actually they're stacked in the archives downstairs. That's why they are trying to build a bigger museum. They called it Grand Museum. That's next to the pyramids. So they have a lot of pieces there. And the thing is, people travel from the airport to the museum and literally spend 1 hour there. And this is very, I consider it as a very weak point, because the thing is, the museum deserves more than that. If you compare it with other museums that has this number of antiquities, this is so less than expected. So I was wondering there, walking around, seeing what people do. And the thing is, people just go through this stuff, just look at the antiques and then, go away. Sometimes they can read some labels, small labels, because maybe the setting wasn't great. So, it wasn't great to, you're not appreciating the amount of like 5,000 piece. It's like, a piece just made from 5,000 years is just made from, gold and a lot of stuff complicated, but just to spend, a few minutes or let's say a few seconds in front of that. So this is so noticeable and everybody can see that. So that drives me to do something for this museum. And again, when people arrive in groups, they don't have this kind of like a guidance except people. So they have to pick some people, human guides, and walk with them around and tell them about the stories. So there is no gadgets. Actually, they applied some gadgets, but there is no maintenance plan. So they just abandoned that. So the only way was just some translators and some human guides from different languages for different people. And then they go for it. So we need some kind of technological way that can drive their attention about these pieces. And this is where I started to look at that. That was in 2015. That's even before, we can see like Pokemon Go, all of this kind of AR stuff, before even they are evolved to that stage we arrived that day. So I was looking for, okay, what if we can use augmented reality technique and this kind of stuff? Maybe people are happy with dealing with phones and tablets. What if we can just implement that? That was like a very, now it's considered a very old idea, but now at that time, people haven't used smartphones at that time. So what if we can just let people play with this kind of stuff and use it in the museum, and we can enrich the museum experience? So because it was a research, so I had to do some kind of little knowledge about the problem, and I spoke to the manager, and I know the average hour was just only 1 hour. and compared to the other museums, people could stay days actually. So I started to do some semi-structured interviews with random visitors and do some kind of observation, put the camera there, started to see what people actually do in terms of like wandering around, walking from a route to another, and start to analyze that and see what people actually like in these kind of this context, and I start to analyze that, get the problem more solid, and then start to build some kind of objectives to follow in order to build my own application. So like I said, interviews and then the observations. So the thing is, I bring my camera and started to capture people, what people do exactly, where they gaze at the antique and what the interesting points they are looking at, and then start to define these issues, because I'm thinking about doing some kind of interactive things or maybe games, so that people, instead of looking at this stuff static, they can play with it. All right. And then I calculated the average time that people spent in every piece. By the way, this is the room that has all of the antiquities that found with King Tutankhamun. So they have like a golden room that has a mask and stuff like that. And this is his golden throne and some other stuff. All of the statues are in this hall. So I got the approval actually from the Egyptian authorities about this museum. And then the next step was, all right, those are the antiques that people like it, so why not we can get some replicas? I can't actually use the real pieces. So I went through replica center, so they made it for souvenirs, and they are so like 100% replica. It's exactly the same, even with the same materials. They have a lot of artists copy that. So I got the best pieces for copying, and then I start to do scanning for these pieces in order to use it for a virtual replica for that. And then because I was in the UK, I started to explore how AR could be possibly used in museums, because at that time people actually, and even now, people are not using gadgets because gadgets could be distracting people, because I want to go to museum with my friends to look at the authentic pieces, not to play with my phone. So what if we can integrate that and see if that's distracting or not? So that was the main reason of going to Leeds Museum. And then I started to do some kind of like an application, mobile application. That was in 2016. And then I made some kind of a tour, and then the idea was just get some people in, use the application, and use augmented. So whenever you can see an antique, arrive to a specific point at the museum, and then you can get some kind of notification. Once you click on it and open it, you can see a camera open and start to implement this 3D model in a bigger one, and you can spin it around and see information around. So it's like another window to see more stuff. And then I started to explore that, so people can you see in the middle here, there is something bigger, so you can actually get information, you can like it, you can have a profile, so you can get the collections as if you are doing the shopping. You can like that, you can save it for later on, images, videos, audio, stuff like that. So, and people started to show their, tell more about what if you can use a gadget in museum. Is it distracting? Do you feel it's useful? I know some people can use books in museums, so that might be distracting too, but I'm just exploring at that time. And then I took the system and I tried to do the same at the Egyptian Museum in Cairo. There is no HoloLens at the moment. It's still, missing, still, still under progress, still not released to the public. So I didn't know actually there is a device at that moment. And then the idea was, like I said, the idea was to arrive to the museum room and then put beacons. These beacons can connect you with with Bluetooth to your phone, and then it can triangulate your location. And once you arrive closer to each piece, you can get like a trigger or like a notification, so you can open the scene and start to scan that, and then you can see a virtual replica and information around, and then something like that. So and then the idea was okay, and people start to like it. And then I did like a preliminary kind of study. What if I give you some choices such as human guidance, air guidance, audio guidance, and book guidance, guidebooks? What do you prefer? According to Leeds Museum, and I found like human guides took a big portion, audio bigger, and then finally AR guidance, because people actually have this kind of passion of trying a technology in the museum, especially they can use their phones, and Egyptian museum as well. So there is no bigger, bigger comparison between both. Actually, they are tending to follow the similar things, and then that gives me the motivation to move forward. And then at that time, HoloLens started to be available, and then I went to get it quickly and start to learn quickly how to use. I will just leave you with this video to show the process, and then how I build the system from the beginning till the end. So it's worth to say that I've built the system entirely alone with a little help of development and graphic stuff and stuff like that. So I will leave you with the video.
Cedar wood chair has the winged solar disc, angle pieces and studs. Is shown in his typical image based on the stylistic norms of archaic statuary, with his barely defined body wrapped in a sort of sheath.
So as you can see right now, I did actually the system through phase by phase, and the system actually has two different scenes, two different types of scenes. This first scene is first kind of scene is just narrative scenes, so the king can actually speak about how the tomb has been discovered, and how, you know, what exactly in the tomb and what kind of antiques and stuff like that. And he can speak about some stories, you know, how he ruled the country, how he made this kind of wars, and also there are some kind of war scenes who can actually initiate the scene. Once you walk in the museum in a specific place, you can see that you trigger something, and then you can see an entire war is happening around you. The king is riding his chariot, killing people, people riding the horses, killing other stuff. So you can see a lot of things happening around you. And I'm trying to turn the museum, instead of having like a static place, these kind of antiques are there. You know, nobody's speaking about it except few texts. It turns the place into like a cinematic storytelling. So you can see people like walking around, running around, fighting. And music actually can play a significant role with the visuals. So both is like you're having a different experience, so you can stay there more. So that the idea was to let people stay more in the place. So yeah, like I said, one is like a scene for storytelling, and the other one is for exploration, the antiques. Instead of having a guide is talking about the antique, sometimes you can't catch the words, sometimes people are talking a lot, so you can't get this thing. So this system is helping you to repeat what the king's saying. So literally, once you arrive to the museum, the king will show up and start welcome you and walk through the pieces, and it can show you the triggering points. Every triggering point can lead you to something. And in front of each antique, there is a trigger point. Once you arrive there, then you can see, as the king rises again, and you have a virtual replica, and then you can play with it, because you can't touch this authentic piece because it's actually locked in a glass room, because people can't touch it. It's from 5,000 years, you can't ruin it. But this virtual one, you can have the sense of playing with it, spin it around, discover these secret points. And I made like a gamified system embedded to that one. So basically, every antique, there are some secret points, and you need to reveal them and read them. And once you got it, now you're expert in this piece, so you can actually have like a tick. Now you're okay with this one, you're expert with this one, go to the next. And then there is in the backlog, you can see like that you have actually ticked a lot of pieces, and if you reach it like a number, then you will be an expert in this thing. So there is a sense of competition comes from the gamification mechanics. So you can have like, once you finish visiting the museum, you can see like, okay, I'm an expert in this piece, or I'm expert in Egyptology because I've revealed a lot of secrets of the Egyptian heritage thing. So yeah, in every piece you can see the king rises again, talks about this antique as himself, like I was sitting at that chair, that was a statue representing Horus, whatever. And actually people like the UI things, they can spin things around. And as you know, HoloLens 1 has some interactions with the, people has to learn the way of moving things. But I think everything is sorted with HoloLens 2, so you can actually move it wherever you want organically. So again, that was the map. So the map is like, there is a tour, so people can arrive here, the king rises here. So this is the visitor, and the king standing in front. And then he will ask you to go around. And I scanned actually the real corridor, or this bigger room, and I got the real dimensions. And when I built the virtual world in Unity, I got the actual dimensions. So for example, I put some guards from around the king, as if like the place is like a temple, and people are actually standing next to the pieces as they are guarding this antiquities. And then and you have like these red things are like stations that has narrative scenes and war scenes and stuff like that. You can speak to the queen. You can see how the king's king do this kind of wars. And all of the black ones is actually some real guidance for the antiques itself. So again, the idea about making the system is there is some kind of theory background about it. So there is an original item, which is something that the visitor needs when he arrived to the museum. He needs to see the authentic piece. And also there is a virtual item as well. So you can see that in this one as well. So whenever you see something in the virtual, I'm not distracting you with something sensitive. I'm asking you also to look at the authentic one. So you can see that as well. And then you have a virtual guide. This one is just personalized for yourself. Looks like the real human guide, speaks whatever the language you're taking at the beginning. If you want to repeat it, it's up to you. And the system is all at that time wasn't able to do the mixed experience, but after that I made it to be like shared between different people as well. So you can actually feel the physical environment if any people walk around, so you still feel that you are in a place, and you can see both. You can see the room and you can see the temple at the same time. And also you have UI spatial design, you have click. So instead of having narrow your vision inside your smartphone, now you have a wider scene, you can go around, you're not locked in this limited space. So this is more like a technical pipeline. I don't think anybody is interested with that. I will just go quickly through it. So the storyboarding takes that into visuals, and then the visuals break down into characters, environment, audio narrations, video scripts, and then end up with like ending that to Unity, deploying that, testing, a lot of testing, 3 months of testing actually, a lot of problems, a lot of high graphics thing. I aimed to lower it down at that time because HoloLens couldn't handle this amount of things, and I want the frame rate to go in a safe number. So it wants at the minimum actually with this amount of characters, people flying, because actually there is some kind of ambient music and ambient characters as well. You can see gods are flying at the top, music, stuff like that. So that's an exploration thing. So this is actually the tomb, and you can see bigger labels instead of small one. And the king again.
Solid ebony chair. Child chair of Tutankhamun. This solid chair is an everyday piece of furniture that was found in the room called the antechamber.
So as you can see, the buffering is not great, and I think if you are a developer of HoloLens, you know this issue. I was recording at that time. I'm playing, so the two loading things makes the flow of the video so jagged. So anyway, in the real experience, you don't have this kind of things. And then after that, I had to deal with the limited FOV. Field of view in HoloLens, and then I published a paper about how to put all of the pieces around, and also you can see it. So I had to measure the distance between the player and the antique. So I put some stickers on the ground, can make things well, and then and I put the trigger points on these stickers, like virtual triggers on these stickers, and then I remove these stickers. So because I need people, when they stand here, they know that all of the contents actually are in the view. So you can actually see some stuff interact with the small buttons, because there are some small buttons and you're far away. So put some kind of principles for the UX in order to make it more accessible. That's part from the Unity. That's before deploying that to to the real experience.
I am the Egyptian king Tutankhamun from the 18th dynasty, the successor of Smenkhkare, who is the son of Akhenaten. When I was 10, I ascended to the throne by marrying Ankhsenepaten, daughter and widow of Akhenaten.
This is the system for exploration.
Immerse yourself in the battle and imagine how I was undefeatable with the brutal enemies of my countries. See you again.
All right, so it was a low budget project because actually I've done the character modeling, animation. I used a friend for narrations. I made the development myself. I think if it's something like a bigger project funded, I think I will need a lot of people, and then we can do something much higher quality.
I am the Egyptian.
So stage 3, system is done, and then I had to assess what I've done and see how that would affect the engagement of people. And I absolutely got some questionnaires, observation again with camera, and see how people react, and then analysis, and then some, theory stuff like framework. Like framework is just made for connecting some variables like constructs, how if I use this system, how that would affect on the engagement and stuff like that. And then I validated the system with experts before, and then it end up with model. Like this is approved model. That's if we have used this mixed reality thing, that would affect on the engagement. Anyway, so I met a lot of, number of experts from different universities, from practitioners, people from human-computer interaction, visual communication, museum engagement as well. People has different backgrounds, even creators also. So I have a good number, creators, visual communications, stuff like that, experts in museums experience and stuff like that, and then end up with some usability issues, some of them related to HoloLens itself, because it was the first time. So it was trialed at 2018. So at that time, there is no more stuff about HoloLens. It was just 2 years. So few research stuff, few reviews about it. So actually it was really beneficial to get these stuff from them. And then I went back again and I started to calculate the time again. So I let people use it. 171 person tried the system. The thing is, when I went to Egypt, I contacted British Council in Egypt. They have like a bridge with 2 million people there, and then they announced it, and I have long queues of only one HoloLens there, so I had to ask them each to spend some time with it. Again, I started to calculate the time, and imagine the time jumped from 5 to 7 seconds at the beginning to 1 to 8 minutes as an average of every single antique. So that's not the entire visit. That is the time just given for each piece. So so as you can see, the time jumps in terms of only one piece. So imagine if that extends to another. So this 1 hour will be increased to maybe, 4, 5 hours or maybe days. So that was the aim actually. So as you can see, I will have like the some diagrams about the visitors. Males and female are not, there is no big differences. The ages was the less from 41 to 60. But mostly the system, people from the younger ages like to use this kind of gadget and try it for the first time. It was interesting. And also, some of them already have some information, like have some experience of using AR and VR at that time. So that helps me to have, to blend in with the experience much faster instead of using the device for the first time. So I have some people know already about AR technology at that time. That was like from 3 years, used some VR headsets, but very, very few used AR in museums. Actually, after like, that's at the same time of, I think, Pokemon Go when it's released. So the numbers were actually very good at that time. So people found it more useful. They liked the interactivity in UI, ease of use, interactive design, enjoyability, and also the most significant part is they feel that this system could be the next step for having the rule of being a guide in the museum. So we can maybe evolve it or maybe make it more adjusted and customized to make it to replace the guides we used to know, like human guides or maybe any audio guides, stuff like that, because it actually have a comprehensive visuals and audio as well. So this is a quick video about how people feels when they wear the HoloLens based on the observations. This is just portion fair, so it was like 171 observed. This is like around 50 or something, but I will just go for it quickly. The most interesting part, this girl is working as a curator in the museum for more than like 7 years, so she was amazed to see stuff like that in the place. So I'm going to skip that. So yeah, people like it actually, and the conclusion is, like I said, the MuseumEye as a word comes from, okay, so we have 2 eyes, and then we have the MuseumEye. This is like another eye comes in the HoloLens to see something not seen physically. So that's the idea of the system. And actually, my aim is to get this system in practice and be in a real business, so we can apply in different museums as well. So the main aim is to enhance and reshape the museum experience, and also increase the visitor engagement by better presenting the information, enhancing communication, interaction between visitors, because I'm also aiming for shared experience as well. So people can share stuff, can play games together, can wear different headsets together and walk around, because people like to go in groups. So that would, you know, would make them much happier instead of looking at static stuff. And again, you know, that would actually impact on increasing the museum income, because normally you are aiming for, you know, renting these devices. You can put some ads. You can, you know, you can think about referring to some gift shop stuff. If you want to get this copy, just save it and go to the gift shop and get something similar. So economically, it's actually can enhance the impact of the economical impact of the museum as well. And before the final slide, there's something else I want to say. So again, I really support the companies that trying to simplify these devices, make it more simple, you know, and I'm thinking all of the companies are aiming for less not bulky stuff, and even HoloLens start to be less bulky than before, and I think they're aiming for the third one as well. Hopefully it will be less bulky. So this is what people actually going for. They need to get rid of small windows of smartphones and go for wider space through their phones, through their glasses, and see the world in a different way. So they can see virtual environments, virtual pieces, and stuff like that. And that would open a lot of industries later on, like games, marketing, concerts, movies, and stuff like that. So one more thing I want to refer to some other projects I've worked after this project actually. From actually a month, there was like a conference, like an expo, digital innovation expo in the UK. Some universities and some companies are sharing some stuff. So I built a system for our university. So there is like a virtual agent speaking about the university, showing stuff, and they are actually trying to market maritime courses. So the girl is actually talking to people, showing them some yachts, you know, and they can actually see the yacht and dismantle it and see, because actually this have been designed by students, so people can see it and play with it as well. So let me show you.
University is the only university in the world that specializes in yacht and superyacht design, with students from a range of countries studying on 2 undergraduate courses and a master's course.
And this is part of this system as well. So, and there is a futuristic project I'm thinking about it. It's under the hood. I'm in Southampton, and there is a big museum here called Sea City Museum. Has a big section about Titanic, and this is showing some stuff belongs to people who lost in the ship. So the project I'm writing into it is to bring some people alive. So Southampton has been affected by like 500 family have been affected by Titanic from 100 more years. So they have untold stories. So the thing is like making some kind of like cinematic narrative scenes in the museum, and you have like a storyline. You have to go in each room and find a story, and you have main actors and side actors. You can trigger people sitting next to the wall and start to speak about their life, how they end up into the ship and what happens there, stuff like that. And then after that, you can find some kind of visual effects about this, the ship is falling or like sinking in the sea, in the ocean, and you know, you can find some kind of tragic stories about, you know, what people did, people running, stuff like that. So I'm trying to turn the museum, instead of just having some belongingness of people, could be like a story with VFX and stuff like that. Hopefully the futuristic devices that would be released can help me to achieve what I'm aiming for. So that was my presentation, and I hope I could give you something new to the museums. Maybe you can be together, think about rechanging and reshaping the museum experience with these kind of gadgets and technology. Thank you for watching and seeing my presentation, and hopefully it was beneficial, not boring for you guys.
All right, thank you so much. We do have some questions over in the Q&A if you want to take those.
Okay. All right, so the first one. Yeah, thank you. The first one, yeah, I was looking for actually doing some theme elements too, but yeah, again, the thing is, like I said, the funding is an issue here. So as long as we have funding, then we can do whatever we want. Designing. All right, so AR Core and AR Kit actually just released. Yeah.
I would say I don't think the audience can see the questions, so you might want to repeat them first.
All right. Okay, so there is a question saying about redesigning the system for mobile devices or AR devices. So the thing is, when I developed the system at the beginning, there wasn't AR Kit and AR Tool wasn't there. I mean, I was just building that based on the package. Holo package comes with HoloLens. I don't mind to have that actually, but the thing is, again, we are returning back to mobile phones, and I don't want people to be locked in mobile phones again and to be like keep looking at their smartphones, because I did some studies about distractions in museums. People go there for authentic pieces, but if there is some smartphones will be connected to smart glasses, that would be brilliant. So it could be designed to fit AR. To fit mobile applications. I think I'm repeating my voice again. All right. Okay. So the thing is, yeah, there are some devices just released. You can connect the smartphone with the glasses, and then you can, you can see what this phone transmit to the glasses. I think that would be a brilliant idea. Thank you for that. The next one is still working. Are you still working with the Cairo Museum now, or it's moved to a new space? No, actually, I made a prototype for them, but they went to another bigger thing with the Grand Museum. So they contact me for consultation, but no, still not yet. Never, still working on some other projects. Hopefully they can contact me to do this thing for them. What else? Okay. How can we get in touch? Actually, if you, all right, I can actually leave my email here. Is that okay, Nick?
Yeah, you can actually make an announcement there and just drop it in.
All right. Okay, cool. So let me just write my email. Okay, so the next one is I don't think we have more. Okay. Yeah, a question is, are any elements of this team thought useful to include? How Egypt built these amazing world through is making MuseumEye content available to be exposed online virtual museum. All right. Okay. I'm against the virtual museum because the idea of museum is to go there. All right. If you looked at the virtual museum, okay, you can have like a part of the fun. Okay, it's not, you're gonna ruin the experience. I'm a big fan of like going there, exploring things, looking at the real material, and you're looking to something that is from 5,000 years, and look at how magnificent it was designed and built. So virtual museums could be great for pandemic times, but building that, I don't know. I could actually work in these kind of projects too, but that would be applied through the VR thing. It's not mixed reality. Mixed reality is to bring the physical world next to the authentic one, so to have the experience of seeing both. So you can see the temple of the king and also the same room. So and also there are some kind of factors you need to consider, like you don't want to be feel daisy or to be blocked in this locked room. I want you to be free and walk around and feel the real experience. So that was my intention. That's why I'm not working much in VR thing, especially in museums. could be beneficial for some other stuff like educational training, but for museums I prefer mixed reality the best. So related question, if so, would you expect an online option to enhance visitor experience through better appreciation and then wanting to see that in real thing, or perhaps not? I think I've answered that question. The online thing is not giving you the real experience. Like I said, I prefer to have the device, rent it, and go there, play with the stuff, and return it back, and you would be happy eventually. That was my my philosophy about it. Okay, so do you expecting an affordable headset with mixed reality could work in our ideas? Are you fully invested with HoloLens? At the moment in HoloLens, hopefully there is any other company can produce something, you know, not bulky and cheap as well, because HoloLens has a problem about it's so expensive actually. That's why museums has to provide some plans for purchasing, maintenance, and looking after it. And I think the step when people can have a personal device, that would be the kicking off of these kind of applications, because using these kind of devices for just only specific purposes and return it back, you're losing a big portion of the experience for different disciplines like education or training. But if you have this device whenever you walk, like you can see navigations in the ground, you can see like interesting stuff in front of you, context, ads, you know, a lot of things, facial recognitions, a lot of things actually can get benefit of. So I think if that's released, I mean, these kind of devices, that would be great. Affordable, you asked about affordable. I don't think there is any device is much better in terms of the quality than HoloLens at the moment. It actually can give me the capability to do whatever I want in terms of the character number of polygons, the performance, frame rates. You know, the specs actually still higher than other competitors. That's what I can say. That's why we're aiming for this, the other museum project, the Sea City Museum for HoloLens 2 at the moment, until something may be released later. Okay, let's move to the next question. Yeah, do you think the haptics will enhance it? Yes, as long as the haptics doesn't be like intrusive to the experience itself, that would be great. Like if you're trying to learn how to use this stuff before going to the museum, okay, so if you learn how to use it, so you're expert with playing with this stuff, that would be brilliant. Because in my application, I had to let people use the device without turning the application on, just to do the hand interactions and walk around and play with the, you know, bringing the minis and stuff like that. Once people feel okay and feel friendly, like user experience have been achieved, then I will ask him to do so. So if you just wear the device for the first time and try to use this application, you won't feel the experience I'm aiming for. What was the timeline of the projects? Actually, yeah, 10 months. Everything is actually in 10 months. So I know it was so condensed because that I was like a full-time working in the system. 9 months, 6 months about like content, building the content, another 3 months for development, and then another 3 months for testing. So 6, 3, and then around 2 for testing. And yeah. How do you onboard visitors who have never used HoloLens? I just answered that. So I will ask people first if they already know how to use HoloLens, which is very rarely to see that. I ask them to have like an instructions. HoloLens 1 has that, and I'm sure HoloLens 2 has it as well. There is some kind of like a tutorial on how to use the HoloLens for the first time, how to make the hand gestures and stuff like that, and then until you feel convenient playing with it, and then once people, you know, prove their experience or like having access all of the applications, then I ask them to play with it. So this is really critical when I publish the results. I need to be more critical about that, because usability can prevent the real experience to happen. That's why I ask people to do it before. Thank you. Great to see that you did user studies to assess usability and impact. Thank you so much for that. I don't think we have more questions. Yeah, did you work with? Yes, this is really important. Actually, using the system in the museum was so restricted, because I have to pass through the some like a panel in the Ministry of Antiquities. Those people are responsible for making sure the content is right. So the system went there for like 2 weeks. They reviewed the content, and even they had some comments on the characters, because portraying Egyptians has some kind of like contradictory ideas from people. Some people say, you know, they're slightly black or like slightly brown. You know, some people could say, oh, okay, they're from north of Egypt. So I used some references from real people living in the same cities. They used to have it like a capital at that time. And then I referred to the skin, because it was, like I said, it was a critical point. And then they reviewed the visual stuff, the textual stuff, and then they approve it with some modifications and apply it. And then I amend the system based on that. So yeah, building the content was a critical part as well before publishing the system and using it. I don't think we have more questions. Yes, there is a question here. Let me just publish it. It's about the using Azure spatial anchors. Yes, I've used spatial anchors. It was critical at that time. It wasn't easy because recognizing the area in front of each piece was a problem, and then I managed to do it like worded anchor at that time. So yeah, I think HoloLens 2 would do a great work with Azure as well. Thanks for that. Of approaching other museums offering HoloLens, how you manage to approach museums and convince them to adopt the technology. To be honest, that's still a challenge, but coming up with future idea. All right, so I'm approaching museums has a ticket, like a high price ticket, because they already gain they can gain some kind of like money from it. So offering these kind of technologies, that would be great, because they can get some more money for renting the device. That's why I'm aiming for, like, I contacted some Gulf countries about it. They have some museums, they are interested of using that. They're already using that in different stuff, like in police and in trainings. So some people already know that from the Gulf countries. The challenging part was actually I have an artistic background, so to develop in C# for the first time with no knowledge was a critical. The second challenge part was optimization, because I have a lot of characters running around, a lot of intakes has to be low poly, and also showing the, you know, the textures on the top. So it wasn't easy to optimize my characters in the scene and keep the frame rate is going smoothly. That was the critical part, actually. All right. Okay. What have you found to be the most challenging aspects of the process for creating MuseumEye projects? Yeah, skills. Yes, stuff like that. Right. So again, I had to learn, like I said, 3D software, game engines like Unity for the first time in 2016 or 17, I think, and C#, mocaps, motion capture systems, how to translate the animation, how to make lip sync right, how to do the facial and body together. Actually, I've done that for the first time. You know, debugging which is take a long time. The support for HoloLens at that time wasn't great from the forums. I think everything's sorted now. Everybody, found some issues about world anchors was a problem to me to set specific scenes in some triggering points on the ground. So I had to look for that for a long time until I found something interesting. There was something at that time called fragments. Fragments was a really brilliant application, and they applied this thing very, very creatively. I like it, but I was looking at how they have done these things and how to use the AI for customizing the room and put the anchor points into it. It was at that time like a big secret, so we couldn't actually use these features at that time. I think hopefully that would be sorted later on. I think we don't have any more questions, so thank you for listening, and I'm now heading back to Nick.
All right. Thank you so much. That was a really great presentation. I enjoyed it a lot. I particularly enjoyed those survey results. Like it was really cool to see just how well people received your work there, even on a HoloLens 1, which at this point is, oh man, it's hard to go back to, a little uncomfortable compared to the 2. So thanks again. Thank you, audience, for coming and watching this presentation and asking all the questions. We hope you'll come back next time. We do have an event next week, November 3rd, which talks about MRTK v3, so definitely don't miss that. And stay tuned. We've always got more content coming from the Mixed Reality Speaker Series, so enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll see you next time. Take care, everyone.